Yeah.
Looks like we're live, mate. It's been that long since I've done it. I'm forgetting what we've got to do. So share. Let's share the. There we go.
I feel sweet. Do you feel sweet? It's amazing. I have no skin and I feel everything. It's amazing. I feel good when you feel good. I knew I would. It's amazing. I've wanted this for so long. Now the deed has been done. We shall rise with the sun. Spend our time as one. Now there is no sin in anything. It's amazing. I hope you do too, 'cause I love everything. It's all amazing. I feel new. Do you feel new? I understand when they say we're born again, 'cause I've been born again. I'm born again. And it's amazing. It's the best thing. It's glorious. It's life-changing. This feeling is amazing. It's the best thing. It's glorious. It's life-changing. This feeling.
Good evening, internet. It's everywhere in everyone. It's amazing from now on. Welcome to the live LUF Lounge. My name's Pete Yarwood, and tonight I will be hosting our space, occupying this space to connect first and foremost, and to talk about where we are, where we've been, maybe where we're going. More importantly, let's get our eyes fixed on where we're going. We have got with us the Will fellow, Free Will Eagles.
Evening, everyone.
Hi.
I hope you're all doing well, guys, to everyone out there on Facebook. Evening, Jonathan, and evening the rest of you. Hi, Ben. Hope you're all doing really well. We just thought we'd spend the next hour or so. We're going to look at a few things. Obviously, we had our big LUF event on Wednesday, and it was brilliant. We had a full house, all sharing that message with each other. So we just thought we'd have a few moments just to reflect with you all. I can see you all on Facebook, so please come and say hello. Keep sharing. We're going to have a look at some footage from years gone by up to where we are now. And maybe have a quick think about where's it going as well. So really good to be here as always, and I'll pass it back over to Peter.
Thank you. We're fortunate in Lancashire because we have many lived experience recovery organisations community groups, movements, with many in Lancashire. It's not like that in other parts of the UK, but we want it to be. And that's not to say we want to go and do it in other parts of the UK. We want to share our learning and experience so that you can do it for yourself in other parts of the UK. Because if there's one thing I know, as plain as the nose on my face, is that when we start to mobilize people who've got a past experience of the negative way they've led life, people who are triumphing over adversity, who've got lived experience of that, you know, not just read it out of a book, who've actually been, you know, shoulder deep in adversity and are triumphing over it. I absolutely know when we mobilize and organize those people with I suppose with a remit of working together to move forward, that's our logo. We become explosive. And one of the things I shared when we had our first face-to-face LUF was a chap who I bumped into in prison. And I just thought this conversation was really, it was worth sharing when I had my slot on the agenda. And we had, I'd say it was upwards of 100 people. We organised the event for 100 people, but as ever, we had to bring more chairs in because there was more people who wanted to be a part of it. And that's fantastic. What a great testimony that is. But in the lead up to that, I bumped into somebody who I knew from prison. We both was on a prison wing. And I don't think I'd seen him since then. So it was like 2007 was the last time I'd seen this chap. And it was in one of the supported housing accommodations we've got in Lancashire. Come along to the Lancashire User Forum, and he was saying, you know, good to see you, Pete. I've not seen you for ages, but I've heard about you. I've heard you're doing really well. And I just honed into that. Oh, you've heard about me. If there's one thing we love, it's hearing good things, isn't it? And I said, what have you heard? And his face said it all. He went, oh, well, you know, a bit of good, a bit of bad. And inside, my heart sunk. Externally, I styled it out. You know, it was like, it's par for the course when you stick your head above the parapet. You know, you're always going to attract a bit of negativity. Have I upset a few people? Yeah, I probably have. Did they need upsetting? Yeah, probably they did. But that doesn't mean, you know, I'm intentionally angry or rude. But inside, it floored me a little bit because I think I am a bit of a softie. However, it just gave me a perfect opportunity to talk about that crabs in a barrel analogy and a critique. So for people who look from outside of the recovery community, looking in, what they say is, they see a lot of infighting, they see a lot of gossiping, they see a lot of fragmentation. They don't, and this is the feedback I've had, they don't see a lot. And this is not locally, this is the national picture. They don't see a lot of people who are working together, coming together and organising. They see people pulling it apart from the inside. And there's a theory behind it. You call it crabs in a barrel. And, you know, I was sharing with the people who was in the forum how when fishermen catch crabs, they can put them in a barrel. They don't need to put a lid on it because the crabs that are already in it pull the ones that are trying to escape. They pull them back down. And, you know, they use that as an analogy to say when you're climbing out of addiction, people who are still in it tend to pull you back down. And I don't subscribe to that belief at all. I take a different view and say, well, a natural habitat for a crab is the ocean. It's not a barrel. They belong in the ocean. They've been taken out of their environment by somebody who's got more power and control and placed into a barrel. And that's why crabs behave like that. So You know, you can't cock block somebody because their view of the world is one-dimensional, you know, and they don't understand the external forces that are creating those conditions. So it's a very natural thing to do for some people to turn that attention on others who are trying to help, and that's just par for the course, you know. And anyone who's coming in through the Lancashire User Forum Leadership Committee, we have these conversations and say, you know, you're going to have to prepare. This is par for the course, you know. This is some of the things we've got to overcome, and we have, which is why I said before, Will, when we start to unite together and start to build each other up and start to hold each other to account and start to get into the evidence and work together and support people, we become explosive. There isn't anything we can't do. And we proved that the other week when we said, look, 10 years ago, I'm going to share a little clip with you. 10 years ago, when I got a first opportunity to enter into the employment market, part-time, temporary, minimum wage job, and me, I suppose my responsibility, my role was to lead the Lancashire User Forum out from the umbrella of the Drug and Alcohol Commissioning team into a space that's independent, and, you know, start to organise our own community, how we wanted it to look. One of the things we said we wanted to do was identify resources. 1 second, this is life just getting in the way. 1 sec. Hello? Yeah, that's brilliant, Joe. Yeah, it's cool. All right, cool. Thank you. Bye-bye. Life just getting in the way there. One of the things we said was we wanted to identify existing resources and redirect them into our community. In other words, we wanted to make sure that people had access to opportunities that change their life and change their communities. And one of the ways we did that was to create Red Rose Recovery as a charity to deliver contracts to, you know, to, I suppose, generate income and then reinvest that income back into people who've been deemed either too high risk or too vulnerable to contribute, and say the only way we're going to change that narrative is if we get really visible about it, if we use our past experience and our lived experience to identify when somebody is up for it and give them that opportunity to change the narrative. To do that, we've got to be empowered, got to have what's called autonomy. We've got to be able to make those kind of decisions. So it was really great 10 years on to be able to say we've done it. You know, we soon will have 50 staff employed in Red Rose Recovery, and we're running at about 85% who have a lived experience of at least 3 of the 5 complexities. So domestic violence, criminal justice, homelessness, substance misuse and mental health. We've got at least 3 of them complexities, a lived experience of that, if not more in many cases. So about 85% of those 50 people who are in them jobs have got that experience behind them. So, you know, I'm happy that it is what it says on the tin. What we said we was going to set out to achieve 10 years ago, we've done it. It's not like you open a tin of baked beans and ravioli comes out. We've done what we said we wanted to do. And I think we're in a really good position, because when I look at the national picture, they all talk about lived experience. The funders, the commissioners, they all recognise the value of lived experience. Now, that wasn't the case, you know, pre the 2010 drug strategy. And there's still a lot more to do when it comes to educating people and tackling stigma. But I'll say it again, when we start standing shoulder to shoulder we become explosive, man. There ain't anything we can't do. So I'm going to share, forgive me, because it's a younger version of me that you're going to see, but I'm going to share our first promo video that we did about 10 years ago. So have a look at this, guys. Or maybe not. Right, just let me have a little rewind and try that again. And it's this one in it. So share that. Might look a bit funky. There we go. How's that, Will?
Perfect, perfect.
When there's nowhere else to run, is there room for one more song? One more song. If you can hold on, if you can hold on.
The LUF has been really helpful doing stuff like that. With the Lancashire User Forum, it gives me a broader picture
to look at service users in a different eye.
My name's Pete Harwood. I'm the Service User Involvement Lead for the whole of Lancashire, but I also chair what's called LUF, Lancashire User Forum. Lancashire User Forum is a meeting where service users and professionals come together on a level playing field. And that's a meeting that we hold every 6 weeks here in the Gujarat Centre. We hold it here because it's ideal. It's in the central location, Preston, so people from all over Lancashire attend. First of all, we've got the opportunity to say we're here. Our voice matters. This is a service what is for us, so it shouldn't be about us. Without us, I like that, that's a good one. Nothing about us without us. People whose lives are being changed just by a meeting. Not only are we changing lives, we're improving them. You know, you'll meet guys who've got jobs from attending Lancashire User Forum, from the networks that they formed. Actually, in the meeting, you'll also meet people that have improved their lives just because you've met people with a similar vision. But we want to go bigger than that. You know, we want to take this truly and make it an independent forum where we can go possibly to government. You know, we can start to raise awareness within the voluntary sector. We can look for funding within the public sector. This Lancashire User Forum actually does change lives and make people feel like they can accomplish what they set out to.
Yeah, I started doing the smart recovery about when I come out of treatment about 18 months ago in Morecambe, and I've been there since, and I started volunteering there about 6 months ago, and they've offered me a job there, and I went for the job interview and I got the job there a couple of weeks ago. I'm just waiting to sign on the dotted line now.
With the Lancashire User Forum, it gives me a broader picture of several things. What services that I could try for, either as a volunteer or possibly even going on for a career as, and also it gives me valuable insight as to what training may be available through the Lancashire User Forum and where there's funding available for that.
There is something what you can do in the community to bring rehabilitation and the community excuse me, to look at service users in a different eye.
Whereas at the Lancashire User Forums, I can see what resources are available and where I feel that I'd be able to give back into the community, whereas previously that would taken from me.
So that was 10 years ago, and like I said before, I think we did what we said on the tin. I can hear music. Is that mine? Let's see. Yeah, that was me. Yeah, so this is my living room, and what we do is we share the responsibility for maintaining this space throughout the whole of the last couple of years. So my daughter, my grandson, it's a house, and my family are a massive part of my recovery. So they understand it and they get that. And I suppose, why is that important? Why do I invite you into my life like that? Because this is where we live. Yeah. Well, we're having whatever you want for dinner, mate. Let's let Grandad finish off the stream, and then we'll get some scran, right? I suppose, what am I trying to say? The people who I look up to and admire, they integrate their recovery within their family. It's not something separate. And I think that's what we've done in the Lancashire User Forum. We've created a space where family is really important, it's valued. And if in addiction, we hurt all our families, well, certainly for me, that was true. I used to hurt my family. Then in recovery, I think it's about that relationship being healed. And it's dead important we bring families with us on this journey. On Wednesday, we had family members on the agenda, and they spoke about how they're using the principles we all come to know and love and adopt in mutual aid settings, how they're using those same principles to heal some of the wounds that they've received from having a loved one in addiction, and watching, you know, almost powerlessly watching the hurt and the harm take place and not having any ability to change that. And they come and spoke about how important it is and what it was like, you know. I thought it was, I don't know, what do you think, Will? How did you think that come across? Because you're the next generation, aren't you, Will? 10 years later, we're handing the baton over to you to say, where are you going in the next 10 years, Will? What's it going to look like, the Lancashire User Forum?
Yeah, well, again, so I mean, first of all, on the whole, the family matters. Those were the organisation that came in on the LUF on Wednesday. And you know, it echoed a lot of my thoughts, because there's a saying that my parents say to me. They say, just as we weren't going to enable your addiction, we'll try and do everything that we can to enable your recovery. You know, it got to the point with my parents, and I'm sure a lot of people identify with this. I was thrown out the house. I was told that you're done with the family, you know. Which is completely understandable, and I'm not resentful about that, because obviously when you're in that active addiction, you don't understand the pain that you're causing, but you know, to them. But now that I'm in my recovery and, you know, working a program as well, a massive part of that is about the impact on loved ones and family members. Yeah, you know, it's recovery isn't just, I'm finding that recovery isn't just healing my wounds. It's about healing the wounds that I've dealt to others, and, you know, taking responsibility. Although it's not a moral deficiency we have, it's a disease. I still think it's important to own what we did and use that very much as a reminder. I think that's absolutely vital. And then moving on to the second part of that question, it's a big question, isn't it? You know, I think, first of all, like, if we're looking back to that video and where we are now as an organisation, it's brilliant. You know, you started off with brilliant intention, and those intentions have come to fruition, a lot of them. But that doesn't mean we can stop having intention and you know, start making more plans. You know, I've come from a background of kind of like media and that kind of stuff. and I understand for the younger addict in particular that recovery is it's almost a taboo word, because to many people the idea of an addict is, you know, the crack house, the 8 stone wet through, and you know, some of those things are very true, but my addiction wasn't like that. It was just incredibly lonely, incredibly depressive, and obviously ridiculously abusive with my drugs of choice. To me, one of the key things is breaking down them stigmas, which would be, you know, that would be an aim, but it's understanding how exactly do we do that. You know, how do we put a message across to, not because, you know, maybe I can help in this next generation of people coming through, but there's a next generation of people out there that are getting into addiction. Do you know what I mean? Just as we must progress, our illness progresses with other people as well. And you know, I speak to a lot of people I'm in a recovery home, so I'm living with other addicts as well. Most of them have known for a very, very long time that they've had a problem, but it might have taken them another 20, 30 years of pain until they actually come into a recovery. I think maybe one of our aims as an organisation, like I say, is to break down them stigmas, try and give people a true view of from the addict, you know, not from a therapist, you know, who drives a Mercedes to work and is on 70, 80 quid an hour to tell you what you need to do to change your life, but from someone who's actually been there. I think that's vital. And hello Jay, mate, it's really good to have you. I'm excited about the next however many I'm excited about even tomorrow, but the next 10 years is these next steps that we can take as an organization. It's going to be powerful, and I hope, because I believe we've got a very special team, you know, of people here, and I hope other people can maybe start looking at what we're going to start putting in place over the next year, over the next 10 years. And maybe, you know, say, oh, we could do something similar to that, because the message at the end of the day is to help the addict that still suffers. I did loads of interviews on the LUF, which I'll compile for this full video that I'm doing, and I literally went up to people with the camera and a mic. I jumped on them and said, what's your message to the still suffering addict? Because that's what it's all about. You know, yeah. we can go to nice venues and we can do things like that, and that's fantastic. But for me, it's the people that are still out there, that are lonely, that are afraid. Those are the people that we've got to be facing. Do you know what I mean? So those would be a couple of my ideas anyway. Hello, Jay. How are you getting on, mate? Nice to see you.
Okay, mate. You all right?
Yeah, Jay, we're doing well.
Yeah. Welcome to tonight's live LUF Lounge. Should we have a look at the promo then? I suppose this isn't the video, is it? This is just the teaser to what's coming next. That's right, isn't it, Will?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So
I'll share now with you just a short clip of last week's first county-wide face-to-face Lancashire User Forum meeting that we've had since the pandemic began. So here's a little snippet of what's coming down the pipeline at you.
Hands up who's not been to LUF before.
So yeah, hit the like and share button, people. Get the word out there. But Jay, you shared your I mean, first of all, Will, thank you for pulling that together, because I know how time consuming it is to sit down and trawl through hours and hours of footage, because we had multiple cameras, loads of stuff going on throughout the whole day. So thank you for that, because that's a real skill you've got there that you bring into the table. That was the first thing. So secondly, Jay, you gave your story, and the feedback I've had off so many different people about the whole event, not just your story, the whole event, they really enjoyed it. I mean, it really is phenomenal to get in the room with so many people. But I think I can only remember one other person that's had a standing ovation at a Lancashire User Forum of, you know, more than 100 people. And that's what happened to you the other day, Jay, after you shared your story. 120, 30 people all stood up and saluted you. That must have been, how did that feel, Jay?
I think I'm getting goose pimples on my arms when you say it like that. I kind of don't, you know, I kind of disregarded my life story for where I come from. I've never really understood it, I think, because I kind of just wanted to brush it under the table, so to speak. I never kind of feel them emotions, but obviously we're just going through the stuff I've gone through over the last few months and losing our recent stuff. It's brought it all home in a big way to me. In a big way, just my recovery and where I am as an individual, where I want to be, where I want to go, what I want to do, what I want to achieve. Just a lot of things, and I think a lot of that come out in my shirt, you know, and it's real. It's not a cartoon. It's not written out. It's not read from my book. It's me. It's what I've been through as an individual, you know, and having that emotion attached to it is a big thing.
I got some feedback off a person, and they was talking about how at one point I was talking about co-production, and I was saying in Lancashire it's not tokenistic. Those days where we get invited to meetings and we have to go in there and be really grateful that we've been, you know, use terms like wheeled out, really grateful that we've been invited to a meeting and we can share our story. In Lancashire, it's the other way around. We invite others to our meetings, and the power balance is more equal. It's not a top-down approach. It's equal. We've got I suppose we've got recognition that we've got a valued part to play, and I think the evidence for that was when a lady from the housing provider, the local housing provider, big social landlord, said, you know, I've had over the last couple of years, I've worked alongside some of the guys in the charity in Red Rose Recovery, and I've had a really positive experience. They've been so willing to help. And she was saying that's a unique experience. You know, that's not the same with some of the other organisations who talk about working in partnership. She was more or less saying our guys who are volunteering and getting stuck in with these housing providers are really having a profound impact. And we've been working alongside not only the housing providers, but Her Majesty's Revenue and Customs. And I think it's really important, because we want decent accommodation, don't we? We don't want our benefits messed with when we're trying to get well. I don't know. What do you think on that? How do you feel that co-production? Because sometimes I think co-production as a word, people just co-opt it, they get it and write into the bids, and they don't know what it means. They don't truly co-produce. you know, it's almost like there's lots of people who aren't in recovery riding on the backs of people who are in recovery, you know, in some cases. And I think in Lancashire, don't happen like that. We've got a system where we have a part to play, and it's valued, and it's significant.
Why shouldn't we have a part to play in it? Why shouldn't we? You know, we're not
Well,
learning it out of a book. Our experience, ours is coming from the art and where we want to be, you know. And we need that, because regardless of what, there's still a lot of growing peaks to do in that area. You know, I'm out and about me, and I'm on the streets, and I'm doing that sort of stuff. And I see the challenges today people have, especially coming towards winter. You know, it frustrates me. It frustrates me that they're not looked at more. But I think over next year and over the next 10 years, you know, that's something that we can have that profound effect on it. That's something that we can have a massive impact and maybe change the scope through whatever.
Jay,
you know, I'm thinking big.
Yeah, it's not like that in other parts of the country. And when we go down to the Drink and Drug News in June, we'll take as many people as we can. Normally we aim for about 40 people, but you'll hear from your peers all over the UK what it's like in other areas. I can speak for Lancashire and say, you know,
they're privileged up here, Pete. From where I come from down my ends, you don't have any half the stuff they have up here. Yeah, you were privileged up here, but there's still a lot of growing to be done. But down in Great Manchester, they don't have any of that. You just want to get you in an hotel, then as soon as it comes one way, the bank put you back on the streets. Over here, they don't. They're looking at actually substance misuse. They're looking at dual diagnosis. They're looking at the issues you've got. They're looking at your family. So there's loads they are doing, but there's still a few points where they're not. Do you know what I mean? And that's where it's growing. You know, it's teething problems. That's what I call it.
Well, we can scan the comments on Facebook for any questions or viewpoints. I know Will will do that, but I think what you asked the question, why shouldn't we? Well, if you think the people who've truly got the power, people who are writing the policies that dictate the way provision happens, if they're getting their information from some of the mainstream media outlets who talk about addiction in a really
what research is being done, Peter, isn't it? What's the research behind that though? What research are they doing? Are they on the streets? Are they asking these questions? Or are they sat in an office? I'm not being funny. Do you know, if you're sat in an office and looking at a computer.
Catch this one.
I'm getting passionate now, Peter. I'm getting passionate.
Catch this. Have you heard of the program called The Wire?
No, I haven't.
TV program called The Wire. It's set in Baltimore in America, so it's a really raw part of Baltimore, and it's around drug dealers, and apparently it's the closest you can get to real life. I've watched it. It's a good series, The Wire it's called, and there's an episode in The Wire called Hamsterdam, because one of the characters thought Amsterdam was named after a hamster, and he called it Hamsterdam. And what they was doing was the police commissioner said, right, you know what, in Baltimore, where we've got the most murders, the highest drug-related deaths, the highest drug infections, you know, all the like big drains on public resources, what they said was, we're gonna put a ring fence around a part of the city, and we're going to say, in that zone, police aren't going to arrest you, so you can get medical attention, you can get access to services, we'll supply you with injecting equipment. If you want to use drugs, you can, and you won't be arrested, only in this zone, And what they found was that the drug-related deaths started going down, the drug infections started going down, and like everything about what they was trying to achieve was happening in this area. But the politicians started getting pressure off the mainstream public, because the mainstream public were like, it's a free-for-all. Why are those people not being punished? They're bad people. They're the wrong uns. You should be in there stamping them into the ground. So what happened was the politicians end up writing a policy that isn't based on evidence. It's based on public perception, because they want to get back into power. Yeah, and they say life follows art, or art follows life, but we've just got a new drug strategy that talks about punishing addicts. For me, it don't talk about rehabilitating them, don't talk about as an illness. It don't even define addiction. So there's a difference between people who can use drugs and it doesn't take them to addiction, and people who, you know, can use drugs and it does. Do you know what I'm trying to explain? Yeah. So they don't define it, but what they're trying to say is, I suppose, if there's a multi-million billion-dollar drug market that isn't being fueled by homeless people, that's being fueled by middle-class drug takers. So we need to punish them. That's what the strategy is about. And I just think, if it's an illness, then surely it should be not a criminal justice issue. It should be a healthcare issue. And those people who are poorly, who have got, you know, a medical condition, should be viewed as such, not viewed as criminals and stigmatized and, you know, pointed at as they're the bad people, because that's how our human rights get eroded.
If you go to a hospital, yeah, and you smoke 50 cigs a day for 40 years, you don't say, and you've got a problem with your lungs, you get some tests done, the doctor says, you've got lung cancer, mate. The doctor then doesn't say, sorry, through your decisions, we can't give you treatment. You get your treatment. With the police officer, he doesn't think, hey, I've got the highest rates of crime in America. Maybe someone else is better suited for this job. No, he doesn't. It's far easier for him to place the blame on other people. We have to consider it as an illness. It is brutal, but it's not. It is considered a moral deficiency. It's completely dehumanized. You know, it makes me mad. But this is what
regardless of what people are always going to put the addict down. Regardless of what,
because they don't. It's an illness, but I think only part of it can be solved medically. Because it's an illness that centers in self, doesn't it? It's very selfish, very self-centered, all about me. And the antidote to that, to step out of yourself, is to go and help someone else. And only people with a lived experience can truly understand what that's like. Or is that true? Only people with a lived experience? No, I don't think it's just people with that lived experience. But I think people who have got that have got a clear understanding on it. And that's why they've been integrated so much into the design and the delivery. And rightly so. Sorry, I'm just like really in a bit of pain with my knee. I suppose if only part of it is a medical solution, the other part of it has got to be a societal one, a social one, hasn't it? It's got to be around giving people access to community, to a place where they feel like they can belong. And isn't that the basis of the Lancashire User Forum? Everybody can come and belong, and we won't stigmatise you. You know, it's like, it's a space where it doesn't matter what you believe. The first thing you should feel is that you're a part of, that you belong and you're valued. And society doesn't value some of our people, does it? Because it views them as a drain on resources.
Absolutely. I mean, like, to me, what LUF stands for is almost like the antithesis of what our addiction does to us, because our addiction wants us to be lonely. You know, it wants us to be broken. It doesn't want us to be sharing our problems with people. It doesn't want us connecting. Whereas our organisation makes us do all of those things. It creates a, through positive experience, it first of all can plant a seed, but it can change behaviors, because, you know, if you stick your hand up at a LUF event and you're in an open mic session and you speak, and there were people who spoke at LUF that you could tell don't normally speak, which to us as passers-by might not seem like much, but then maybe he's going to go home and maybe he's involved with a fellowship, and then maybe he might start sharing there about his problems as well, because he or she has had that experience and they've been accepted for it. They're not been told they're useless. They've not been dehumanized. They've been the opposite. They've been welcomed, and it's planting seeds and you know, hopefully watering that seed as well and allowing it to grow. It's humanizing. It's humanizing our addiction.
Well, I'm going to send you a document. So, as Red Rose Recovery is part of the College of Lived Experience Recovery Organisations called CLEARO, and they're organising lived experience recovery organisations throughout the UK to come together under that like banner, if you like, and develop a set of standards. So I've been asked to pull a document together to say, here's how we evidence those standards. So if I send you where I've got up to with that document, and the standards revolve around what's called CHIME. It's connectedness, hope, identity, meaning, and empowerment. They're each of the standards: how we evidence connection, how we evidence hope, how we evidence identity, i.e. everybody's got a place to belong, not just people who are, you know, we don't put a definition on recovery because an individual has to define what their recovery is like, not somebody else. So how do we evidence each one of those standards? So I can do it from Red Rose Recovery's perspective, but if I pull together the document and ping it over to you, you can pick, say, hope. You know, how do we evidence in the Lancashire User Forum, Will, that we promote hope, we give people hope. And does that sound all right?
Yeah.
And then
I was off with the fairies there, because you said something and then I was in a wormhole with it. He said, I'll bring in various groups together under one banner. Where is the United Kingdom User Forum? There isn't one, is there?
Well, we started off by saying, you know, people who look from outside in, and it's been tried many, many times, but what happens is, you know, people who haven't been invited, or people who think they should be invited, or people who think they should be running it, you know, they just, I think they start picking holes in it, and it's like, it's counterproductive. What we've got to do as a community is get better at understanding diversity and accepting, you know, different people do it different ways, but collectively, we all want the same thing, right? Don't we? We want to see people get well. We want to see people climb out of poverty. I mean, the government are calling it levelling up agenda, aren't they? Different people call it different things, but ultimately we want to share a bit of love, don't we? And we want access to opportunities. We don't want to be stigmatized. Generally speaking, we all want the same thing, don't we?
Yeah.
So it's been tried, Will, and I think the closest anyone's got to doing it now is a group of leaders who have come together from different parts of the country, have pulled together what's called the College of Lived Experience Recovery Organisations. And I think I represent in that meeting for Red Rose Recovery, but I think it'd be great if we had one of you guys representing for the Lancashire User Forum. And you know, you're not the only one who will have input into that document. There'll be a few of us who have input into it, because they're our values, aren't they?
Yeah, I think we've got quite a scalable model with Lancashire User Forum, because all of those problems that you talked about, I think we're actually quite good at coping with, which is interesting. Anyway, that's just me going down a wormhole.
No, you're right, Will, because here's the thing. It's like, you would be surprised on how over the last 10 years we've influenced how things are done. And I think I might be wrong. I think it's what's more important is not who gets recognition for that, but the fact that it actually happens. That's the important thing, isn't it? So for me, it don't matter who's done it. The fact that it's done is the good thing, isn't it? And you know, we can't have a strap line that says working together, moving forward, if we pick and choose who we work
so
with.
It's like, we need to do something extraordinary, something out the box.
Come on, mate.
Yeah. So it's like it's time for it, Peter. Do you know? No, we get a lot of it, and we get a lot of politics, and yeah, unfortunately, we are gonna do from our background. But I think we can kind of shape it up, couldn't you? But it's having people and coming onto places like this what gives us that recognition and saying, "Come on, people, come and join us." Do you know? Get involved, get that volunteer work, and we're only going to be able to change that perspective, to change them views. We're there as a collective. We're all there. It isn't about one individual. No. It's about what we want to do, innit?
I've got this image stuck in my head. I've got this image of a very similar event to what we had on Wednesday, but maybe make the room 10 times bigger. Yeah, and don't have the bigwigs there. You've just got it's scaled from exactly what that event was there, and you've got maybe
what no important people will.
No important. I don't care about them unless it's us asking them, what are you gonna do? I don't want them telling us.
Yeah, go on. Here we go. We're getting down to the nitty gritty now. And smiling Luke. Because that's how it's conversations like this between us. This is how it comes across. Do you know them little seeds and these conversations? What we all have. But who's doing anything about it? And maybe we could set the bar on that.
Right. Well, I've made a start on that document, and what'll happen is all the other lived experience recovery organisations from all around the UK, they're gonna reply to 2 of those standards. Around the CHIME model: connectedness, hope, identity, meaning, and empowerment. CHIME.
Yeah, there's so much beautiful work going on out there at the moment. There is, everybody's doing their own little thing in their own little way, and they're doing a fantastic job. We ain't knocking that, but isn't it kind of, we all need to sing from the same hymn sheet, so to speak. We all need to follow kind of the same design to a certain degree.
Yeah,
we do, don't we?
I've just got a few people online. So Gary, mate, it's really good to see you. Kath is asking, I'd like to come and join in. Kath, please do. If you go on to the website Red Rose Recovery, you can find out all what we're about. It's really nice to have you on it. Let me just find a few more. I've got
women are important for recovery, aren't they, Will?
Yeah,
women are a massive part of recovery, because remember, we're blokes who are talking now with girls, you know, women. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to offend. It's like, you're so important for the recovery community, because it's used what you see it from a totally different side to us. Do you know, so we need strong women in recovery and who actually want to make a difference with that, with women's groups. We're getting the voice, we're getting mental health. There's so much. I'm kind of getting excited now, so it's.
Yeah, me too. And do you know how we talked about addiction as an illness, or a disease? You know, when you think about, let me pick like so for example, autism as an example. Yeah, a lot of people, when you hear them talk about autism, You don't hear what you hear about people with autism, for example, is that they are incredibly talented in many different ways. Their brain thinks differently.
Yeah.
Addicts are the same, because when you have an addict, they will tell you exactly how it is, unless it's about their own addiction and they're an active addiction, in which case they're lying to you. When addicts get together and put their mind towards something, it fucking happens, because when we latch onto something, we put every fiber of our body into making it happen. Yeah. I mean, for example, Wednesday was a perfect example, and we as people have so much love and so much time, and with a recovery program, we don't really have egos either. Where our message is using ourselves as giving the next person through the door the exact same treatment that we had, and I think that's a really important thing. We've got to stop from an external perspective, from the people who just see addicts as a problem. It's got to stop. It's got to stop.
Yeah, you almost see that. Sorry, Will.
Go on.
You only see that because of the damage that we've done in society, do you know what I mean? So obviously the prisons are full of people, the streets are full of people. It's only because of addiction that they're out there. So if you took their addiction away, then where would them people be, them individuals? So people always see it for the negative side of it.
Yeah,
I think what we had on Wednesday was a room full of people, many of whom had had completely different starts in life, but all ended up in the same destination, needing help and support at some point. And what I think we've got in Lancashire is a system that's compassionate. Yeah, there's room for improvement, but what we know to be true is that addiction just does not stop when it gets to the edge of a council estate. Doesn't say, oh, we're not going to go into privileged estates. Absolutely. And it doesn't say we're not going to go into the BME community. It's right in there. It's rife, isn't it?
Completely. But people look at homeless people with addiction, for example, and it's like, you're homeless, and we'll put the blame on their homelessness. I put the blame on the people in power. It's not their fault that they're homeless. They haven't been homed. And this is the thing. It's very easy for a person in power to say it's your fault you're homeless. I'd flip it on them. Why aren't they homed, pal, Boris, and your band of merry men? There are so many tough conversations that have to be had, but they have to be had.
We're just seen as scum, Will. We're seen as scum. So when we do get into recovery and we get passionate because we haven't lived a life, because we've lived a life in prisons and institutions, and when we come out and when we get clean, we are passionate people. We are passionate because we see it for what it is, and kind of it isn't. Yeah, we take ourselves for a mug in our addiction, but society takes us for a mug and all, and the way that we're treated, around prescriptions, around living on the streets. There's one thing I didn't mention the other day, So when you're walking down the streets, people, if you're watching this, and you're walking down the streets, you see somebody homeless, you're looking at them, and you're maybe think about what that person is going through. See them for what they are and what they're going through and what they've been through, because you don't know what that person's been through to be where they are.
Jay, did you see what happened last night when we came out of church? So there was about 20 of us last night who went
straight away though.
20 of us from Preston went over to Church on the Streets in Burnley to do a carol service, and there was about 6 youngsters, weren't there, who come with us, the younger crew. And youth. They were all stood outside across the road, and a police car drove past. And as soon as it seen them, the police stopped, got out the car, and went.
We're just looking, Peter. We're just looking, weren't they? Yeah, they weren't seeing; they were just looking.
Yeah, you're right. And we, as soon as we said to the police, we've just come out of church, we've been carol singing, they got it. But I think society, we learn it on the speaker boot camp, don't we? Was society are programmed a particular way to judge, to make judgments. It's called heuristics, the mental shortcuts the brain takes. It just sees, the police just see a group of youngsters congregating in a town centre, dressed in black, with face masks on, you know, hoodies, like balaclavas and hoods up, and they stop to have a conversation with them. And I think it's really interesting because the perception, everyone knew that the police were stopping to say, "Yous are up to no good," aren't they? That's why they stopped, to trouble them. And then he realised, actually, they've just come from church. They've just been singing, you know, they've been singing hymns.
There's a term. There's a term. There's one of my mantras. It's a word called sonder, and it's a noun, and it's basically defined as the realization that every single person that you pass by on the street has a life as vivid and as complex as yours. And I think, like you just talked about, the shortcuts that our brain has that are often societally driven, they stop us realizing, you know, you see a person on the street, you just see a person on the street, you know, to many people. What you don't see is that they've had an entire life just as rich and as complicated as yours that's led them to that point. It's about that rehumanization program. You know, it's not just a guy living in a crack den. It's not just a woman on the street. It's a human being. And that, to me, that word sonder, it means an awful lot.
Yeah.
Wait for someone to speak.
It's 6
I'm kind of just, what, PR?
I'm saying it's 6 o'clock, and our commitment is we'll occupy this space live at 5 every Saturday. I know I've got my grandson who is ready for his tea. So I could, but here's the thing. I could stay in this space with you guys all night because I'm still fascinated by it, because I suppose what drives me, what are my main drivers? I know that we can work with people who have, like Will's just described, had beautiful, wonderful lives, but lost it all and are right at the, you know, right at the pit of despair. We can work with those people and absolutely guarantee, if you apply some of these principles in your life like we have, you can get it all back. And when I see that process, you know, when I take people on that journey, and you guys are equal in that, I just get so much from that, just seeing other people progress. And I think that's why it's so important. We can point to, we're going around the model again, a decade later, we've got new people who are coming into this space, learning it, bringing all that passion, vibrancy, energy. I think that's the litmus test, isn't it? Is it what it says on the tin? Have you got new people coming through who are ready to take it to the next stage? And are you threatened by that? Or like, you know, a good coach would do, is your job to facilitate them beyond you? You know, isn't that what handing the baton is? I've took it so far, you take it the next step, you know. But
it can only be that, because if not, you're just stepping back, and that'd just be a waste of 10 years or whatever it is, 15 years of all the work that has been put into it, and too many people and too many lives have been saved because of this. So why the how would we not want to change? Why would we not want to get our voices out there and be passionate? Because you know what, we are. No, we are. We're shouting, Peter. We're shouting, and we are going to keep shouting. I will anyway.
I will.
And it will.
Absolutely.
In it.
Yeah.
You better believe me. I'm getting goose pimples speaking about that because it just makes me want to change it.
So,
why should you be?
Here's the thing as well. Next Saturday is Christmas Day, innit? It's Christmas Day next Saturday.
Oh my God, I'm spending it with my family.
You know what I mean?
Sorry, mate. It's been a long time.
Yeah.
Shit, it's not just me, Peter. It's not just us people. It's not just us boys get clean, you know. I'm looking at you all. It's not just us, Peter. It's my mum. It's my kids. It's my brothers. It's my aunties. It's my uncles. So behind me, like I said in Love the other day, I've got another 25, 30 people behind me who were clean because of me. Because they're sleeping easy at night, yeah, knowing that I ain't out there robbing somebody's house and taking shit off people. You know that I'm trying to be a better person. But without that, I won't be a part of that if it weren't for people like you. You know, weren't part of a service who believed in me and gone, you know, fly, man, do whatever you want to do. Sit down with us, you know, and discuss that. Obviously around certain boundaries, you know. But that's what this is about. We need that. Listen, I get love me home and I'll be locked back up in Preston, me. I'll be in jail. You know, I don't want that, do I?
No. Do you know, and it's like, I'm really grateful. I know this might sound strange to some people, but if it wasn't for prison, I don't think I'd be alive.
Yeah.
Because I was not, you know, I wasn't able to look after myself.
It was my own. I lived there. I grew up in there, me, Peter. It was home to me. People don't understand that, but when you haven't got an home initially, and all you want to do is just be a part of, it gives you an home. I
would get released from prison, and there'd be times where I think it's better in prison than it is out there. You know, and that had to change. In order for me to break that cycle, that had to change. Life had to be better outside than it was inside. And for some people,
I have release days, me, and got out in the morning and by tea time, I'm back on the sweatbox, and all I've got out for is get a parcel together for lads. Do you know what I mean? And by 6 o'clock the next day, I'm back in jail because I wanted to be in there, leave all my stuff on the landing, you know, leave it with my mates. There we go, unpack my pad, leave it in your pad, we're back tomorrow with a parcel with nice. Do you know, that's the attitude he had. Why would it? That's just insane when I think of that.
But I think what we need to do better is catch them people who have got that single-minded drive, because you were definite about that. You were like, right, I will get back into this prison with I'll make it happen. And I think what we've got to do is teach people how to transfer that skill into a positive setting.
Yeah.
And then we're on to something, and you have. So it's like when you say, right, I'm going to raise some money, you go and raise some money, don't you? You make it happen.
Yeah, I can sell Santa and Arab. Snow to an Eskimo. Listen, I'm a proper dog. It's transferable skills because that's all I've dealt with. When you've been robbing stuff, I'm not being funny. When I've been out there and robbing stuff and robbing houses and robbing cars or doing whatever I've got to do, destroying people's lives, people want to buy that stuff, people, unfortunately, because people just don't have the money. So, it's transferable skills, selling drugs on the landings, making sure I'm getting bits done,
But
why can that not be used in a positive way?
We can't say, I think it's a bit crazy that we say to, you know, people who've been running county lines distribution networks that
they've got some big skills. Them
Elon Musk himself, he says that the best businessmen are drug dealers, and because I was involved with county lines, and I completely agree. The operation that is absolutely mental. And when you take that and you apply it for a positive thing rather than something that's destroying communities, it's really amazing.
I had an idea the other day
on our patch who have taken that business acumen and upscaled housing support. You know, there's lots of examples we can point to, and I think that's where we can start to build relationships with the prisons and start to say, right, we'll submit a proposal where some of our coaches who've been trained up to a standard, who can use a vernacular that those roadmen relate to and understand, but also attach with it a pathway into a better life, a life away from crime, a life with purpose.
Go on, Jay.
I thought something the other day, Peter. I was speaking to somebody about this, yeah. So obviously, listen, I know, yeah, that I am pretty good on the market selling whatever to anybody. I'm good at it, and I know I am. So yeah, I was watching a program the other day. So you know Alan Sugar, don't you?
Yeah. Well, I don't know him. No,
so he always gets businessmen from all over the country, and they all compete for one another, don't they? To see who's going to get the top job at the end of it with a top wig.
Yeah. Have you froze?
I think he might.
Yeah. So why not? Okay, can you see that? A bunch of professionals with a bunch of recovering addicts on that program. Why not give us that time and see? And we'll see people who would kill it selling stuff.
Well,
I'm sorry, I was thinking about it the other day. I thought, why can we not have that opportunity?
Maybe because you're.
Am we on a rant now?
No, I think.
Why can we not?
Knock on the door and ask.
Yeah, I would.
Do it then.
I would. I'd make a run for the money, believe I would. Because I know I've got a lot of my friends behind me, yeah, who's just as good as anybody. Not even better. Even better.
Well,
I know it makes something pretty special, wouldn't it?
You've got your certificate now for the speaker boot camp, and you've got your bronze wing. We'll
and the silver.
And the silver, yeah. And the silver. Where are you?
What with? I've got them right here.
Bronze.
Dun, dun, dun.
It's accredited. That's equivalent to a GCSE.
I'm 6 GCSEs total there, and I got my bronze. So I'm, racking them up, boys. Racking them up.
Brilliant.
Racking them up.
Brilliant.
Bosh people, can you see that?
Yeah. Okay. Should we wrap it up then, or what, guys? We've done.
Yeah, of course. I've got a couple of people here just online to say hello to. Hi, Chris, mate. Don't worry about being late. It's good to have you. Stephen as well, also interested in joining. The way to join, mate, is to join. You know what I mean? Just crack on, lad, and I'm sure you'll find it. Thanks to everyone over on Facebook. And I think I'll end with this from me before we wrap up. Like, what it looks like in 10 years' time is not just for us to decide; it's for everyone to decide.
Yeah.
We want to come from a bottom-up approach, and in the new year, something that I'm going to put together is a document. Let's even get a meeting together with everyone, not members. I'm not talking volunteers and staff members. In fact, maybe we just make it for members. Tell us lot to bugger off, and let's hear what you guys have got to do, because you guys make this. Do you know what I mean? We allow it to happen, but it's you guys that actually turn up and support, and it's you that makes LUF, not us. So let's hear from you. Let's do that in the new year.
We just want to be a voice for people.
Brilliant.
So, thanks for tuning in.
Yeah, we just want to be a voice, don't we, Will?
Absolutely.
Yeah, man.
Okay. Well, if we don't see you again in this space, people, have a lovely Christmas. I think we are streaming on Christmas Day. I think someone in the LUF will like pick up streaming responsibilities.
I'll get on that. I'm up for it.
See, so we will be here on Christmas Day, live at 5 again.
I'll come on with my family.
Yeah, me and Jason will take
45 of us.
Happy days. Yeah, let's do it.
Brilliant. Yeah. Brilliant. Technology's great.
Man, let's see. Yeah, that'd be good. That wouldn't it be? Let's show everybody what we're all up to at Christmas Day in different houses, celebrating being clean people at Christmas.
listen, here's the thing. We will end it with a teaser of what's coming down the pipeline at you. So here's just a snippet of what's coming. We will have a fully edited version of the event last week.
We will.
But for now, here is the
have a lovely evening, everybody.
Yeah, have a lovely evening, everyone. Take care.
Thank you, Peter. Nice one, Will.
Nice one, Jay. Thanks, Will.
You know, hands up who's not been to LUF before.
Coming soon. Good night. God bless everyone. Bye-bye.
See you later, guys.